Well, here I am, friends. It's Sunday evening and the sun is shining, as you can see. This morning I was up at like 4 a.m. and I saw the moon just setting, just like right down there. So I'd say like a northwesterly. It's weird having these on. I'll put them on in a little bit. I've got to put them on while we watch the playback of the activism. But the moon sets there, like 4 this morning. I just see the last of it going sort of beneath the trees, as it were, you know. And then at 2 o'clock, 1:30, 20 to 2, I'm in the garden and I see the moon coming up here in the northeast. And that's less than 10 hours later. I understand how the moon can move to an inner circle or a more northerly position within this course of a single month, unlike the sun, which takes 6 months or 12 months to transition from the most northerly position back again. But that was a fascinating observation, and it's just impossible to prove it to a globe believer. But it is just incredible to see and imagine the possibility of that being the speck right inside of a billiard ball. You know, Earth is so smooth and we're so small, and this thing is spun around in 10 hours such that I can see that thing again. Anyway, I do hope that you're well. I have my son has been helping me to, does that mean you're not seeing? I mean, hopefully you're still seeing me, but I'm seeing, anyway, nice to see you, Just JP, and Liz, and Red Herring, so right about the moon. Yeah, how are we seeing it midday UK when it's supposed to be midnight elsewhere on the globe? And of course, it for someone watching it in midnight, it's a half moon or a three-quarter moon with a dark section that isn't lit. Whereas for us, it's a blue section. You know, it looks like the sky. So it's an amazing thing. I do think it's a feminine energy. So I know there was some debate about it being masculine, but I think it's feminine, honestly. Let me just see if I can shuffle this over a little bit. It was nice to see you here early on, Nathan. And sorry you missed my chat, my brief live this morning, or this rising. Alex Michael does have so much talent. You know, he's self-taught. His dad was a traveling musician, and he's spent a lot of his childhood traveling. So, yeah, thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Greetings, beautiful souls. So what I'm going to do is kick off in a minute. I will kick off my activism from Chester yesterday. It was a busy city, actually. I was impressed by the amount of footfall. I had a devil of a time trying to get... I had a devil of a time, he says rather poshly. Chester is a little bit posher than some cities. It seems to be the case. And I had a devil of a time getting my live stream going, and I was trying to do it through the GoPro. And 45 minutes later, and I'm still faffing around, and I can't get my phone to connect to the thing, and I need a password, and blah, blah, blah. Andrea's trying to work it out from the other side. She's looking stuff up back at home. And then in the end, I think, okay, well, let me just try and do a live stream from my phone. Sorry about the light. I'll do a live stream from my phone, and I couldn't get a signal. And Luca they looked it up and found out that Chester has a particularly bad phone signal rating or whatever, which is surprising, really, because you'd think that the satellites would be able to see it. Now there's Francois Lachranci Lovely to see you, brother. Francois the farmer, the flat earth farmer, with his blue dot shop on the R33. That's the name of the road that Francois lives on, the R33. And he has a little shop which he's named the Blue Dot Shop. Lovely to see you, brother. He became a grandfather a little while ago, maybe a year ago now. I'm not really up to date with that. I'm hoping to see Francois in the not too distant future. So, yeah. Much love to you and the family. Lekker gaan. Hardship produces the finest one. It takes the fire to temper the steel, Nathan, doesn't it? And I think that's the test, you know. And it is tough, and it's a bit like some crazy Squid Games or some weird world that we live in. And being in Chester yesterday, seeing, the masses and masses of people and the lack of interest, which is what I reflected after the Birmingham meetup or thing a few weeks ago. It's the game here is so total. They talk about totalitarianism, but it's so total that, every day or every year, millions and millions of children are enrolled in the system, having been already prepared by parents themselves, enrolled and graduated through the system. So, that's a lot of minds caught up in the thing, in that belief system. So and more and more I have to become okay with that and accept that, knowing that before World War I, people were protesting and saying this is wrong, there's a mistake. World War II, Vietnam, Gulf War, Second Gulf War, Novid, protesting. In England, they had the poll tax riots in the 1980s, where people were objecting strongly to a new tax. Good people have put a lot of effort and a lot of life into protestation. Protestants or Protestants, still in the system, but protesting against it. And we need to consider whether that continues to be the best use of our energy. And I think that it's good to catch people's attention and get people thinking differently. It is our responsibility to share the information we have. But if it falls on deaf ears, we've got to be cool with that. Hey, is that Creality? Is that Flatzoid's perspective by any chance? Creality. I saw you. I was thinking about you earlier, Flats, because you made a video. I haven't seen a lot of your content in the last few months, to be honest, but obviously we spoke the other night on your live, and thanks for showcasing our efforts to homeschool, world school. It's easy. But I was moved by your video about about a change in focus for yourself and a realignment, a rebalancing And I'm happy for you, and I hope that that endeavor is fruitful. We do live in a dark world, you know, and if I stood in front of the Houses of Parliament, 10 Downing Street, and protested and shouted and threw eggs, they would make my day difficult, and my week and my month. And the more I did it, the more difficult they would make it for me. We know that we are being misled. It's biblical, brother. We know that we are being misled, and you know, I think like Jesus turned over the tables in the temple, but we see today that the temple survived, the system, Sanhedrin, all of those things survived and continue to hold sway over God's creation. And what you want to do by focusing on your family and your, you know, like your inner thing, rather than I want to be in battle with all of these, because it is the dawn of the dead, and the Mactoons and the other characters, all of these are weaponized, and that there will be more of them in as this, you know, this truth emerges. And even, you know, people like Jaren will be used for the fueling of the, you see how ridiculous it is, because even a guy who was totally 10 years in it walked away because he saw the evidence that made water flat. And that's, and I, you know, I never had that issue on the street. You know, I never had to say to people, oh, you know, people have walked away from flat earth. Now they will come to me and say, but flat earthers have walked away from it. So it's not as clear cut as you say. Yeah, I think we need to be warriors, but, you know, I think by Jesus' example, to be, you know, like standing in truth and not needing to kind of, I don't know. I can't say people shouldn't be debating, and I was saying just the other night, you know, I'm not saying people should not be going out in the street or doing, you know, things to kind of shake the tree a little bit, you know. It's one thing to be doing the scientific, genuine kind of study, which I think I think people like you are excellent at, and refining what the things that we understand and what we can know. But to be engaged in somebody else's cognitive dissonance is to drag you down. You know, I think we can handle dealing with some people's cognitive dissonance, but once we engage ourselves so totally in that, then we end up, you know, losing ourselves in that. And you're a family man, and, you know, I think we're all, yeah, we want to do the best for our family, and you know, there's no shame in that, and I think that there will be no one that can ever say that, you know, a guy like you has not and continues to put his heart on the line for truth, for God. So we had to go, but okay. Liz is staying with Cami again. Is that Cami Nodell? South Carolina. About 3 hours from Cami. Okay, South Carolina. I'm assuming that's. We were growing food with electroculture. Such a simple thing, but suppressed with ridicule. Yes. Is my volume too low? I don't know. A bit more volume. Okay, I can talk louder, actually. I can talk louder. I was in the zone there. If you are with Cammy Nodell, please send her our love. See, I think Bob paid a heavy price for his immense commitment to this truth, and I honor that as much as I can do. But it's a big price to pay. So I actually I went to Chester, and this little video clip here. Oh, I need to actually go to the browser. 1 second. I need this. There's a lot of people at this thing. I'm going to add a little bit more. Add a bit more before I go.
The audio is not playing on the browser. There's a lot of people at this. Sorry.
Sorry guys,
I've done a little bit of talking.
More technical stuff.
For they are having in Chester on the river, they're having an event today, and I thought people leaving will get the opportunity, hopefully it doesn't get washed away, people leaving will get the opportunity to check this out. Nice.
So I'm going to add more. Okay, all right, guys. Hopefully you can still hear me. Obviously, I'm a little bit ropey with the. Well, I'm using OBS. Brian Staveley kindly tried to teach me years ago, but I didn't quite grasp it, and now Luke's trying to get me sorted with it. So, without any further ado, I'm going to go over and play the video.
Open.
Hey, bass backwards. Essentially. Okay. As we're approaching, I've been looking around for a perfect spot. Yeah. So I've been looking around for a perfect spot. Is that too loud? There we go, this is the spot. This is where it's all going to go down. Look out for Mr. Plod after the music. This might work. Whoopsie. Okay. Alrighty, folks.
Yeah. Oh well, I think I'm going to end it here, guys.
What?
Chester, it's been quiet, but nice to be out.
No, what? No, I'm not ending it here. That wasn't meant to be there. I don't know how that got in there. Yeah, it says ground level windows.
I'm just public awareness
Right.
and issues in the public interest.
Have the council given you permission to write on their pavements?
This is public pavement.
It is, but the council operators say you require council permission to do so.
Not as far as I'm aware, officer. I've been doing this around the country for years now.
Okay.
And I've spoken to many policemen, and all I'm doing here is putting chalk down, which is going to wash away in the rain. There's no ill intent, no damage, no harm, no injury.
Obviously, if the council wants to clean it now, it would require them to actually clean it if they wished, but...
yeah, because we're in a public space. If this was like a private shopping mall or whatever, I wouldn't do that there. But because we're in public, I'm coming out, I'm giving people flyers, information.
Right. No, I've got no issues with
all
flyers, whatever else. It's purely the issue regarding the fact that obviously it is technically the council's land with regards to it. And whether
Council manages it for the people, don't they?
They do, but at the same time, so you would need permission to basically, I'll use the word deface, but...
No, there's no defacing going on here. Don't overstate it, my friend. All I'm doing here is putting chalk down. This is what children do. It's children's chalk that you can buy from the supermarket.
Okay.
They do it on, it's called sidewalk chalk. And it's used for children
I'm aware
to
basically
write
children's
on and
chalk.
so on. Yeah, so I've done this in probably 50 cities.
Right.
And I've never had, you know, obviously some street
I may speak to
people
basically,
will,
council, the street cleaners just come over and approached and said, what's going on?
Yeah, well, I'm not seeking to cause any injury to people or property. I think that's the most important thing. And as we're on public land here, so long as my expression isn't causing alarm.
I've got no issue with basically the words you're using.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've got evidence to back up all your.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, have you ever seen curvature over water?
I said I'm not going to basically get into a conversation regarding flat Earth.
Often they don't.
You're entitled to your views.
Often people don't. Yeah. Often people don't. But if it's true, officer, if it's true,
again,
it doesn't mean we are being duped.
Right.
It doesn't mean.
I'm not going to get into your conversation regarding flat Earth.
All right. What's your name?
Sergeant Collinson.
Sergeant. Nice to meet you. My name is Dave.
There are some council wardens on. I said it's their land, so if they wish to come and speak to you, I'll ask them to come and speak to you regarding it.
Okay. But thanks, Sergeant. Well, I appreciate meeting you. I'm only passing through Chester.
Right. Where's home normally?
Well, I live in South Africa a lot of the time. I was born in England, but I sort of base myself between the two countries much as I can. Much as I can, and I do this same thing there, trying to reach people and tell them that we are.
Freedom of speech. Isn't he allowed to do this? Freedom of speech?
I've got no issues with speech. Basically, it's more the fact that it's the council's property that's being.
Because when it rains, it'll just wash.
Right, again, I'm not going to get to case law regarding it. It doesn't need to be. Again, it's the council basis approaches to come down to find out what's going on.
We're on the same page. He's over at school.
We're actually having a conversation. But
yeah. No, it's good. I really appreciate you stepping in. Thank you. Sorry about the chalk. So
I'll say if the council wish to come speak to you, because again, there is issues regarding, obviously, if they wanted it clean now, it would require cost to clean it, which therefore would potentially basically fall under the Criminal Damage Act. I'm not going down that route at the moment. That is potential.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always try and do it wherever it's public land, and it's obviously...
I said, I've not got an issue with the words being used or anything, it's more from that side of things, but I said the council wardens are on. If they wish to, obviously, they represent the council, if they wish to make an issue of it, then they can obviously contact us. Right.
All right, well, really nice to meet you.
No worries.
Have a really good day. It's lovely weather today in Chester.
It is lovely, yes.
All the best. Wow.
Where'd you get your camera from?
This is a GoPro. My wife got it for me as a gift for my birthday. I'll give you a flyer that you can take home with you after your breakfast, all right?
Oh, okay, perfect.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool. Let me just wipe my hands. And I hope all the audio is coming through and everything. That was a nice little encounter. I might have to put some more down. Thank you. So, and then hoax, water level, of course, globe line. So, I need to pause this a moment.
So guys, nice to see you, Mikey Smith and Singe et al. That was a brief encounter with the police. I think what was not on film was that prior to that, I must have started talking, I don't know, at some point, maybe it was in that sped up piece, that one of the street cleaners approached me and said I couldn't do it or whatever. And so that led to him or them calling the old Bill, and thankfully, I mean, I don't, that one time where where I'd done it on a wall, but it wasn't a wall, it was hoardings, like for a building site. And they asked me to wash it off. They were going to otherwise get into, I want your name and all that force bullshit. And I wasn't, I was with Dean and Sarah that day. Tunbridge Wells, I think. Anyway, so that was that. So unfortunately, I did some nice talking, but as you'll see, it doesn't last very long. So let's go back to the video. Here we go. Eagles.
Here the council boys are called, because the cleaner dude that came over, he obviously called the old Bill. So again,
hey, Tapper.
Like that lady said, free speech, and am I causing anyone any harm? Obviously he knows about flat Earth, which is cool. I might hit the other side of the road just to catch people's attention.
Alright, a bit more chalking here. I've got a great conversation coming up.
Could lose all
It'll definitely be worth.
Because the council boys are a little angry about their turf.
Yeah. So it goes.
Long for him to respond.
My thighs were a bit stiff this morning.
The thing is that, the cost of the guys coming out to wash it down is actually not going to be like a unique, it's like you're on the job. During the day, you picked up some litter and you washed the floor. Ask me why. Why is this thing beeping?
I put that down, but no one really came over to ask me why.
Can I give you a flyer to take home?
Oh, this is classic.
A flat Earth one?
Yes. Well, electromagnetic Earth. I don't know about flat Earth, but I know that it's electromagnetic. We are electromagnetic beings inside an electromagnetic system. How it works is another conversation.
Here we go. Here we go. Happiness.
We can demonstrate that water is not curving around a ball. That's
Give this back to you. I'm sure somebody else would really enjoy it.
Have you ever read the Bible?
Happy days. Happy days.
The Earth is flat, gents. Earth is flat, not a spinning ball. I think this is recording. Why is it doesn't say recording? That's not been recording. That really, really sucks.
No, it was recording. Turns out. Yeah. Tech issues, guys. Technical issues. We'll work it all out. Let's copper. This was important bit of chalk that I put down, I think. Ah, not this one. I can't help myself. It's very busy there, and all these people are just kind of cruising past. I mean, some people took photos and noticed and so on. So it's not all like, I don't want to be all gloom and doom about, that people don't notice. It is what it is. I had some good conversations, and I'm happy with that. Just turn it down a little bit. Yeah, nice work, Mikey Smith, going to that Jordan Peterson event. I did feel like on this day, and I've felt this before, that having a second person or a third person would be awesome. It just feels better. I just want to apologize in advance. The footage of me talking to this guy coming up is, I don't have the camera at quite the right angle, so let's see how it looks. Ooh. See that? See that? Some people believe everything they've been taught. Well, Mikey, I think there are people who've done it, and I've been, in fact, Squirrel Sniper's done some with me. Tapper, I've been on the street with Tapper. And there's a few, but I don't know. I was wondering when I was watching you whether guys like you and me have a particular psychology. I don't know what it is. But as I was saying earlier, you would have missed it. I was saying, I don't know that shouting at the deaf is a good use of your energy. It should be done. Someone just said no as they walk past. But yeah, I mean, our energy is precious. And like Don Quixote, you could spend all your energy blowing at trying to take down the windmills. When those windmills are here for the Creator intended for them to be darkening the world. Oh, this one's a bit sensitive, right? Government owns you. Oh, your ass. Is that what I said? Come and earn your mind. Oh, they were washing my stuff already. Oh.
Where people don't want to know the truth about what's going on. This guy was bleeding. Wipe this away now.
Yes.
And he called the police on me a little while ago.
Oh, is that what he does? He comes and wipes it off?
Yeah.
Going as fast as you can.
So the police didn't want to chase me away?
Police the same, mate.
Eh?
It's my job at the end of the day.
Yeah. But you need to look into the truth.
Mate, I agree with you totally on half this stuff, mate, but it's still for facing this war.
Well, there's lots of councils that don't mind it so much.
Not half, mate.
But they want to hide the truth, don't they?
Yeah, but if they hide the truth, mate, that's down to them, mate. I'm just told to do my job, and that's what I do, mate.
Yeah. That's what they said in Nuremberg.
Nothing against you, mate, but
All right, man.
if I'm told to do it, mate, I have to do it.
You have a good day. Enjoy it. Earth is not a globe. So I've got some flyers actually I can hand out.
Thanks, Tapper.
It's nice to meet somebody like-minded. I mean, there's plenty of us on the net, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, you sort of realise when you look in comments, yes, you've got a few bots or a few people who want an argument, but most people just want to be treated fairly, don't they? And to recognise what's going on. We're being blinded by media, really, aren't we? The media thing. I mean, like
propaganda.
I don't know where you are with things like Palestine. They're all very difficult subjects, but I mean, at the end of the day, genocide is genocide.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
No, absolutely. But so was COVID. It was a genocide, actually. And so it's being done in multiple theatres and on purpose. And to create that enmity, to create that trigger for a world war or more control over mankind.
In what's going on now as well with everything is designed to pit us against one another. I mean, they did to talk about race equality, but everything.
Take a fly. Thanks. Have a fly. Cheers.
All the governmental things talking about race equality and diversity and everything. It's all creating stuff that's not necessarily there, isn't it? It's creating more animosity.
Yeah.
It's like Lenny Henry. I don't know if you know Lenny Henry, the comedian. He spent his whole life talking about racism and used it as his comedy act, and then he's wheeled out to support the COVID, wasn't he? He was turning all the black, especially black communities, because the black community didn't want to do it; they were resistant. It's great to see people that are awake, because sometimes you question if you're going mad yourself, don't you? Really, you know. But you can see the way that media and government is set up. I mean, I've got no faith whatsoever in any politicians now, because they're all, it's one in, one out, but the puppets, they're being governed above, aren't they?
They all know that in order to get
about the bad
in that
camera.
game, they have to be good boys. They have to toe the party line. You know, they might have a little interest in a particular thing that they try and run a little bit with, and they might actually be, you know, decent family men at the end of the day, just like doctors and preachers and all sorts of professions who've been indoctrinated to become, you know, our captor, our jailer and our policeman.
I mean, you've got Trump coming in that Vance. That Vance, he's a great orator, which is the other thing that scares me, because down through history it seems the great orators. You need.
I need a flyer. Well, I want a flyer. It's a great conversation. Keep talking. And I want to actually offer you that there's a monthly meetup in just over in Wales, near Conwy. A friend of mine organises it on the first Tuesday of every month. They meet in a pub there. So I could get you that information.
That would be great.
Because it is, you're right, that it can feel a little bit alienating being in a world in which people are just going around like they're in Disneyland.
And I mean, you can see that with that adolescence thing, can't you? You see this in the adolescence film business that Keir Starmer's, I mean, he had the audacity to call it a documentary when it's a work of fiction.
Right.
And they've swapped the they swapped the main protagonist to a 13-year-old white boy when the story was sort of semi-based on was an older, not white person, and then they victimised that class of people. Now, you know, as I say, it's not about racism. It's about everybody being treated fairly, isn't it? And that's what they want to bind everybody up against. I mean, the way things are going, it might end up a civil war, and I think that's probably what they want to some extent, isn't it? They want to kick off so they can start redoing rules, the law, to make it more stringent and have excuses for doing that.
That's right. In order to protect you.
In order to protect us, the same as global warming for us, you know.
To protect you, you're going to pay more tax. You won't be able to do this anymore. 15-minute cities.
That's it.
Blah blah blah.
The electric vehicles. I mean, electric vehicles. Even wind farms on solar. They are.
You got a big one off there in Conwy. Cheers, man. You got a big one off. We went there yesterday, Conwy, and wow, there's a huge operation going on there. See, hello. There's a huge operation going on out there, you know. So to all the wind farms. Hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Bloody hell, man. It's just a...
The concrete involved and the fact that you can't... when they fail and they're scrapped, what do you do with them? I mean, the concrete stops there forever.
Yeah.
And then the generator, the turbines and everything are full of oil. You know, it's madness. I mean, the whole idea of green electric vehicles, green for who? Because rare earth minerals, raping and pillaging other countries.
Flat? No, I agree. And, you know, we extend as far as the possibility that the Nikola Tesla story about free energy is possibly true. And that we have our ether is loaded with energy, potential energy.
I can't. The flat Earth thing, I don't believe in the moon landings. I don't necessarily believe everything they say about space. It is difficult to get your head around what the sun's doing and the seasons.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it's the only time that water stops around the globe is when it's around the globe. Any other situation, it falls off and goes flat, doesn't it? Now, it's either some sort of miraculous thing that you can blame on gravity or not, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's it. It's like if you're going to use the gravitational attraction and all of that mass attracting mass stuff, then you have to base it on sort of theoretical principles that don't quite match with they don't match at all with our day-to-day physics. They're sort of physics of a scale too large for us to be able to test for ourselves. So we take it on, well, because it's a ball, it must be doing that. Therefore, the theory is correct. And that's why most people will call it the law of gravity, even though it's still the theory.
They say that the other planets are definitely round, so we must be round. And we must be spinning because we're spinning in orbit and the actual axis is spinning, which... What are we doing today?
We're not moving at all.
We're sitting here.
There's no winds, you know. And again, if you move something, people always use the example of, but if you're in an airplane, well, the airplane's a sealed container.
Yes.
And we're apparently not a sealed container, but we got gravity. So gravity is the sealed container now. From my pencil fell on the floor to it's going to seal this container in, the pressure in, not let the vast vacuum of dangerous space in
at huge speeds.
And we're never going to be able to notice that. But the baseline is that water that we measure is level.
Yes.
And that's it.
Yes.
So if we start with our understanding that, for example, that the continents that we know, like Europe and America, Africa and so on, are all in a pond. And in that pond, we have 5 continents, and we can sail around in that pond.
And everything's worked to sea level.
Yeah, and everything's on the same. Everything's on the same topography. It's all based off the same zero and mean sea level. And so, it makes sense. I could take an empty swimming pool, throw some boulders in it, and half fill it with water. The bits of the boulders that are sticking above the water level, we'd call those continents.
Yeah.
There'd be a continental shelf, and eventually you drop down into the abyssal plain, which is a flat plains that stretch for hundreds and thousands of miles in all directions, flat.
Yes.
With obviously, you've got crevices like San Andreas and things like that, but generally it's the abyssal plain.
Yeah.
You might have some mid-Atlantic ridge or whatever, but that ridge is going to go up 500, 1,000 meters from the seafloor and then come back down
again. Yeah.
It's all on that same level. You know, how the lights work at a disco would be an absolute mystery to a cockroach or an ant or some creature just sitting on the floor and going, wow, look at that, you know, how is it happening? And we can't figure that out. And look here, at this point, we seem to be getting the light traveling around us all the time and never goes dark, or, you know, all these sorts of things that are happening on our world. So we don't necessarily know exactly how it works, and we have to theorize on that. But I jumped over the years to really researching electromagnetics and understanding that this might be an electromagnetic toroidal system that we're inside of, like an apple. A torus is like an apple.
Yes.
But at the center of the apple, you have the core. Now, where they tell us in the mainstream science the core is 4,000 miles beneath your feet, I say the core is you. That you are the core, and this is the center of the earth. This is the place where, if you think about what the seeds do in an apple, it's the only place where new life can form. Around it is water. You know, the fruit of the apple is just water, and then it's got a firm fixed barrier called the skin. Well, I suggest that we might be inside of that, and if you study electromagnetics, they talk about an accretion layer, or a disk that forms between the two bowls of an electromagnetic thing, you know, and you can see this in ferrofluid with a magnet, a neodymium magnet. It'll show you these sort of spider lines, you know, going from a sort of bar point, which is the accretion disk, and then spreading around in 360.
So what I thought I would do, guys, is bravely take you to my browser, and you've all seen this before, really. Okay, I just wanted to see the picture. Wow. I mean, you may have seen this before, but this is a beautiful image. And there's your accretion layer right through the center. And what you've got coming, spiraling up, is all this energy rising through the floor and initially materializing, becoming rock. Hot, 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 and then becoming rock and life. And then, and then breaking down again. And returning. The cycle is constant, never ending, always turning. And you know, this is how. Why do I have to see all of that? I just wanted to see the picture. It's really a first for me to be driving around on here with people watching. I like this image. The owl eyes. These are the owl's eyes. Pig's nose. The debate in my mind is whether this is rising up this way or it should be turned and traveling this way. But there you go. So let's go back to my conversation with this gentleman here. We'll just switch to webcam and video, and we'll carry on. 1 sec, and we're off.
Degrees, and I think that that's possibly what we're in, and it's a turning system. Even back in the 1800s, they acknowledged with the interferometry experiments they were doing in the late 1800s, the best scientists, they said, yes, there is some movement here. It's 3 or 4 miles an hour of movement, but we cannot find this 30-mile-an-hour movement that we're meant to be doing through space, because they couldn't measure that at all. And they ended up blaming the machine and saying the machine was contracting in the direction of the speed, because we're going so fast. The machine itself was contracting, and that accounted for the sort of somehow lack of obvious movement through space. So we can say that this is maybe an electromagnetic toroidal system, that it turns, it has a 12-month cycle, and the sun itself, you know, moves over into the Cancer region for 6 months, and then it's 6 months down in the Capricorn, and the southern people.
How would you go around the idea of sunsets then? Sunset and sunrise?
Well, I have two preferred theories on that.
Yes.
One is that you have your own dome of illumination or lighting. So if imagine I put a large Pyrex dish over your body, over you, and then I ran a torch above the ceiling, at the ceiling level, I ran that past you, you would see it appear to rise on the glass dish. As it got closer, it would go over the top of it, and then it would appear to go down, even though the light itself was always on a single track. So it appeared to kind of, as the light goes further away, we know that from a plane going far away, a train going, everything seems to drop down and eventually mash with the horizon. So it's either a dome that you have, a personal dome, and that's why it's actually going down for you.
When you say personal, you mean localized to an area that you're in?
Well, you localize the area that you're in, but centered on you. This is why
everybody can't.
yeah, multiverse possibility. You know, like when you were in school, they taught us that relativity, the theory of general relativity, has everybody standing on the top of the globe. We're always on the top. Wherever you were educated, in South America, South Africa, England, you're on the top of the globe and everything is down from you. Just accept that that's what relativity does to you. Well, I'm saying relativity, it does apply, but it centers the light show on you. But yes, if you're on the equator, you're going to see the lights sort of track this way. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you're going to see them track lower on this side, and if you go to the southern hemisphere, you'll see them track lower on that side. Yes. So that's what that variation brings. The other, probably most preferred theory in flat Earth is that just like if you were looking on a dead straight highway and you've got street lights going off 2 miles into the distance, eventually those street lights will appear to join the highway.
Yes.
They will compress.
Yes.
Well, we believe that yeah, so we believe that there's a possibility that what's happening is that the sun is only at, if you're standing at sea level, the sun is only at 5 miles high relative to you. It's sort of even less possibly, because we see it in the clouds often, and then it just tracks at that same relative height to you away until it eventually is so far away it seems to have dropped down the horizon. Some people with very powerful cameras have said that they're standing on the beach, sun is set, and they use their powerful zoom camera to bring the sun back up.
Yes.
I had an experience.
So the thing is, look, to all intents, it's gone.
Gone, yeah. But it's just gone too far away to now be visible or to illuminate the sky around it. Yeah. And so dusk appears or occurs. Now, I was flying through to South Africa via Dubai many years ago before the flat Earth, and I saw the sunset from the terminal building in Dubai.
Yes.
And then we climbed onto the plane, and then the plane eventually took off, and I saw the sun again above the clouds. Blew my mind. I was like, whoa, I've got 2 sunsets in one day. Yeah. And we understand that if we go to the observer height. So I think that it will realign itself with you. If I've been on a train and watching the sun or the moon, and it's on my side, on my wing, and I'm watching it, just seems to be following me through the clouds. It's just coming and coming and coming.
It can't be following everybody, though, can it?
Well, if imagine if there's a rather that there's a frequency or a tone or an energy that is occurring in our space, and it's washing over us like a wave every day, and depending on where I happen to stand, so the crest of the wave will always be like, it will always try and realign itself. My eyes will always try and realign. I'll give you a good practical example, and that is that when you stand at the beach at sunset, the sun will come straight to your feet.
You can tell already.
20 meters away, someone else is having the same experience, but they can't see the sun coming to your feet.
How do you know that, though?
We can test that.
You could have
because
two people doing that, and the sun comes to one, but not the other.
No, but each of them will have that.
Each of them will have this, that's what I thought.
Each will have the exact same experience. It's coming right to my feet. What do you mean it's coming to your feet? I can't see it. I see a stripe of light. I was watching it just yesterday. I see a stripe of light coming directly towards me. But I know that a mile up the beach, someone else is having the identical experience where it's like it's beaming on me. The same with the moon, on a full moon.
Wouldn't people say that's just the sheer scope of the sun then that's giving you like a wide beam?
Well, I mean, the example of that is here, where we are in a bright environment right now. I agree with you. I think that what the sun is showing here is it's giving a wide beam and illuminating everything.
I mean, I don't sort of believe it's 96 million miles away.
Yeah.
You know.
Good. They've moved, mainstream science has actually moved it in the last 100 years 13 times.
Yes.
From as little as 3 million miles, if you go back 100 years, to Kepler saying 27 million miles. Others went as far as 103 million miles. Now, the thing about moving it, every time you move it, you have to actually change its size.
Yes.
Because for us, it's always the same disk
Yes.
size. That doesn't really change. I know with certain atmospheric conditions, it can appear much larger. But it's always the same size. So if you say it's half as far away or double as far away, then you have to recalculate the size of the moon and the sun, because
Yes.
they're equidistant, 400
Yes.
times, they say, further apart, and therefore 400
And do you
times.
think the moon is being lit by the sun, or do you think the moon's got its own light
Yeah.
in there?
Yeah, the latter.
The
It's
latter.
definitely not. I mean, we can find the moon now, probably. Just give me a little while. But I can find the moon now in the daytime.
Yes.
And it doesn't appear to be, the dark part of the moon is the same color as the sky, blue.
Yes.
So that sort of really puts the nail in the coffin of this idea that it's out in the vacuum of space, because the shadow area should be blue.
Yes.
Also, if it was a rock, then at the new moon, when it crosses in front of the sun, there should be a silhouette observable to the best scientists on Earth. No one's ever seen it for more than 24 hours around the new moon window. It almost disappears. The same with an eclipse. It's like we can't see the approaching rock, because it's meant to be a rock silhouetted by the moon's light. And we can't observe that. We begin to see the sun getting reduced or eaten, but we don't actually see the rock approaching it.
Yes.
So the light of the moon has been shown to be colder
Yes,
than the
that's right.
shadow of the moon. So I have a theory that the moon is actually sucking energy, whilst the electromagnetic sun is pushing energy out. And you need a dualistic system. You need the yin and the yang. So you need the pH 7 and -7. You need the hot and the cold.
Yes.
And the moon is a blue cold light, and the sun is a hot red light.
Yes.
So what we see is they're opposite lights, and they're the opposite end of the spectrum, the masculine and the feminine, if you like, of an electromagnetic system. They might be, and I'm theorizing here, but they might be the sort of plug hole of the torus. So if you imagine the water going down the plug, at the point that it's swirling there, they call that the hyperboloid, or the neck of the hourglass.
Yes.
And at the neck of the hourglass, you've got everything being compressed. And that compression I offer to people who is thinking as deeply as you do, that it could be a black hole. That actually all the energy in the torus has to get squashed through a black hole to become matter. Because light, we are simply just light. We are essentially just light. I saw this with ayahuasca 10 years ago. We are light beings. This material avatar that I see before me, and it looks like flesh and wood and stone and all of that, is actually just frequency, vibration, as Tesla said. And it's all just a tone. And I'm
making something that's solid, though, isn't it?
Absolutely, and my sensors have been designed to encode that. Think about your TV. Your TV is designed to. It's just a useless device. But if I plug a skybox to it, all of a sudden it can give me 500 channels that were there already. But it's opened that door, and I think our brains, our auditory systems, and so on, are designed to read frequency and interpret it in a particular way. So I think that the sun and the moon might well be the top and the bottom of the torus, and we're just seeing a reflection of that energy center, i.e. the white hole and the black hole.
Yes.
White holes have been accepted in mainstream science now, and so this idea of opposites, there being
Yes.
one sort of that takes in and the other that pushes out.
Of that, you got people like deGrasse Tyson.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he'd be big on black holes and stuff.
Yes.
It all.
Yeah.
When you actually read the words that they say, it's very, it's big words, but it's nonsensical, isn't it? A lot of what they say.
Yeah. They're wizards, and they are designed to keep the spellcraft going.
Actors and wizards.
Absolutely, they are designed to keep the
He's
spell
gone
going.
on a path of trying to do the gender thing now, hasn't he?
Right.
deGrasse Tyson.
Right.
So,
Let me just flyering a little bit. Can I give you a flyer? Thank you. Yeah,
I mean,
I'd love to get my chalk back down. I'm going to put some more chalk back down in a minute.
Within all this, where are you with things like that plane over there? Well, it might not be that plane.
I don't know if that one's coming. Yeah, I don't know if that one is.
it's not
Yeah,
leaving
that's
too much of a
that's what
trail.
I used to watch as a boy. Contrails.
Where it's driving.
But even those could be weaponized.
Yes.
So just because they're not causing the dimming, which is what I think the other bit is for, and maybe interfering with your connection to the supreme, the divine.
5G as well, haven't you now? And I wonder whether, well, there's a lot wondering with like microwave energy, whether if we got a bit rebellious, especially having had the vaccines and stuff, whether they could switch, like, because apparently there's a huge amount of power going to 5G that's not required, and it all went up during the
lockdown,
lockdown. Whether there's a possibility there, either they are doing it on a low level and it's not doing us any good, or whether they could switch them on and actually sort of do a lot of damage or sort of incapacitate us. I don't know, it's just ideas, but it's all very, very scary, because if we learned nothing in the last 4 or 5 years, it's our government don't care about us.
They have a different agenda. The government is really a PR department to keep the propaganda sweet, so that the children keep buying the chocolate, and the chocolate is loaded with poison. And you know, democracy was always set up by the same people who've been running the game for centuries.
And we're within that. I mean, I don't know where you stand with it, but I mean, and I've changed my views and on different things, but with the good, evil, God, no God, that sort of thing, because there is. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not all doom and gloom, because I realise that when you look at comments and stuff, and when you bump into people like yourself, there are still good people out there, but there's a huge amount of evil that, and a lot of it seems to be perpetrated by lords and leaders on basically wars, disease, big pharma, most of big pharma, as you'll know, I'm not preaching to you, just a money-making racket, isn't it, really?
I think the money is like, it's nice, it's a grease, because it gets pharmaceutical reps and doctors and all other sorts of people bought in
to go on to it,
bought out. And in a way, like in what they did with medical education, was to say, look, we're only going to fund certain research. If you want to do this research, it's going to cost you £500,000
Yes.
And you ain't funding that yourself.
Yes.
But you're guaranteed a lifetime of comfort
if you come out with the figures that we want, or the facts that we want them to be, because as soon as somebody stands up and says that's not right, or I've done my research on this, like big scientists and stuff, they get cancelled, don't they, or they get their funding stopped.
I mean, and that's not even really a conspiracy. Boeing was fined hundreds of millions of dollars for hiding the secrets of certain flaws in their design that were going to lead to crashes later down the line, and they knew about it. So corporate kind of cover-ups are nothing new, and it shouldn't come as much as a surprise. But for me, there was an intention to create the snake oil or the poison, because it would create a dependency on your stuff, which yes is really lucrative, but I also think that it means that I'm no longer my master. Nature, God, this creation is no longer good. It's either it's going to blow up, we're going to blow it up, it's going to run out of CO2 or too much CO2, whatever. You know, and so we're constantly second guessing the creator. Now, I was an atheist until I took ayahuasca in 2015, and I say to people that I think that there is a creator. The flat Earth proves it, for one, because this is a created place. That was one of the things that got me to going, shit, you know, this place is flat. Then it was created. I've been an atheist, a Darwinist all my life, or most of my adult life, but it changes the game completely, and it means it was created. And then I'll go further.
Just the genius of the world and our own bodies and our own brains is beyond something that could have happened accidentally, isn't it?
And the consciousness, it seems to me, a lot of science has been paid off not to go down that consciousness route, that there's something higher operating within you. So I'm very clear now that there is absolutely a connection to something divine, something loving, something that is so great that it is what they call God or Allah. It is everything.
But there's
within
so many traps along the way, isn't there? Because you just don't know which. In a lot. When you talk to when you reason on God and spirituality and stuff, it's so difficult, because one, there's the fear of making right decisions, or because I mean, if you just talked about religion. I'm not necessarily talking about religion when you talk about spirituality and God and the thought of it, because I think most religion's been
controlled.
spoilt and controlled. But who really gets the right, what is the right religion? Everybody would tell you a different story depending on what religion they are. And most of it is based on similar fables and similar things. It's just become so, and then when you get into meditation and stuff, at the highest levels, there's lots of problems you can get into with that, isn't there?
Correct.
I mean, I've looked at many a site where, especially like New Age people and stuff, got themselves, and they've gone at the very highest level of Reiki and meditation and chakras, and their life has been ruined because they've got what you might call demonic influences going on.
What if I was to offer you there's like the yin yang symbolism of white and black, or light and dark, contained within an egg, contained within an apple.
Yes.
And all of that, the light and the dark, must be there, just like the winter and the summer must be part of the cycle of this system. And the youngster, the newborn, and the old person passing on. It's like this whole thing is kind of like it lives inside of a cycle. Now, I say to people that you could either be super dark and be all in the magma, in the lower energies, all of that dark stuff, or you could be super light, right? You want to fly right by the sky, like Icarus, by the sun, like Icarus. But the problem Icarus found is that the closer you got to the sun, the more things melted and didn't work, right?
Yes.
And the same is true in the lower department, in the magma department, down below. Is that the more you get lost in that, the more it becomes you. And so I think that we're asked not to become extremists. We're not to become too like, oh, I'm super fucking clean, I never touch anything, all I do is meditate in a dark cave and I drink water or whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's all, that's me. I'm breatharian, I don't eat meat, I only eat the first fruit of the year, and that's it.
Yeah, and that's where, I mean, veganism and stuff, it's got a lot of young youths and stuff onto a thing which they then absolutely torment themselves with, don't they? Everything's got to be after, they're spending a fortune on stuff. Yeah,
but then even in religion, you find people who get, quite extreme in their sort of, properness, oh, you have to be super proper, and eventually you end up being like the Quakers or some extremely like rigid situation, all in the ideal of
verses for that, wouldn't they, about separating themselves and making themselves holy,
and to honor God. Actually, they believe that they're doing that to honor God, or on the dark side, they're doing it because they hate God.
Yes,
perhaps. And so for me, if we are God expressing itself, then you're not loving yourself to accept that this place, with its animals, its wildlife, its sheep that need husbandry and being the good shepherd of, was provided or created for you, or by you even, but certainly for you.
Yes. And
it's here to enrich you. Yes. So is the sun.
I suppose where we go down that path is the way that, because of mass production and like crazy scale farming, we've forgot the husbandry, look after the animal.
Yes.
If we were doing things on a small scale still, then you would nurture your animals and you'd make sure they were well looked after, and then you'd dispatch them in a proper way, wouldn't you? We seem to have lost plot of all that.
And you would only use your cattle in an appropriate way at the right time, and so on. They would be, they'd be beast of burden, they'd provide you with wool and that kind of thing in their lifetimes. And that's a no-brainer for me, but because they want people living in these cities and being citizens, and it has to be through a supply chain that's corporately controlled.
Yes.
And of course the corporate control is, even if it's not intending to cause illness, it is doing everything it can to minimize pests, to make something more sweet, to find a chemical that's going to make you buy more of their product, all of these sorts of things. And again, that's comes back to what they talk about in the Bible about the deadly sins. This is greed. And what I would like to remind people of is that if you're trading with a corporation, then you're trading with the dead. Corpse oration is speaking dead, or dead speaking. And so we humans have inflated these dead entities called Tesco's and Sainsbury's and all of that, and we allowed them to do the husbandry for us, or forced farmers to do the husbandry on the
But
way
of
that only
course,
makes it profitable.
The way they've gone now is that they're getting rid of localised farming, and they're getting already on the path of like they're opposed to meat because it's causing global warming and everything, and they either want manufactured like pseudo genetically modified meat, or no meat at all, or crickets and bugs.
Yeah.
So we've got
Bill Gates, what a lovely man.
Oh, he's a great man.
He's great.
He needs to go.
Yeah. But you know,
his family were in. Well, he probably is himself, but certainly his mother and father were both eugenicists.
Yes.
Yeah.
But now I say that we need the winter animals. In the winter, in the dark of winter in the forest, there are creatures that do well. In the summer, they have to slink away. And I think that in the daylight, and I think that if we recognize that humanity is on a wheel, that hamster wheel is turning such that we're in a particularly dark part of the winter, but we're going to emerge from it into a spring. Maybe this decade, maybe this century, maybe in millennia to come. But there is going to be that evolution, if you like.
But we will never get off the hamster wheel unless politics is
maybe not even
done for, is it?
Well, maybe not in this epoch.
Yeah.
Have you studied Tartarian mud flood at all?
I've heard Tartarian mud flood. I haven't dealt with it too much.
I've been on it for years now, 8 years probably, and I'm convinced that we've got most of our cities, just like Chester, have got so much construction under the ground. It would never have been done by people with horse and cart. This lady just lost something. One second.
No problem.
He's gone. No, he's still there.
I want to give you my card.
And there's something going on in Wales.
In Wales, yeah. Send me an email if you'd like, and I'll send you the details for that.
And your name, sorry?
My name is Dave.
Dave.
Also known as Trinity 4 on YouTube. Did I give you my flyer, Mark?
Not a big one, no.
No, I'll take that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. I enjoyed Mark.
It's been great. It's really good. And all the best to you.
Cheers, man.
Well, so that was Mark. That was a great conversation. Again, really sorry about the camera angle there. To see someone's expression, and in the case of Mark, to see how engaged he was in our conversation, the connection between our eyes and so on. It was, it was a really nice conversation. And like he said, he wasn't, he hasn't yet been convinced that the globe is another one of the deceptions. But I'd like to think that yesterday's conversation was going to help him, move through a few of the impediments that have been laid out by the control. So they're doing a good job, but we are the light. We are the living mankind, and it is us who is here for I'm going to use the word upgrade. It's so cliched, but I think that we even though one could say it doesn't matter what you achieve or don't achieve or how you live your life, it doesn't matter. Okay, I won't argue that. However, I would add that we have been deceived for a reason. So there'd be no point to go on with all of this stuff, as deep as it is, and you can see now you're in it, you can see how much of it is so obvious. So now you can see that you have to think, well then why have they done it? Why would they lie? I mean, even people why would they lie about that? Well, because you are not meant to know what you are, who you are, and why you're here. And there are people out there now who really have the best understanding of why we're here, you know, and I listen to some of these people, a few of them, I don't know obviously all of them, and I listen to myself. And it feels like the right thing to do is to become my most beneficent, beautiful self based on the higher self that I am representative of. The 2015 May, it's not now, almost 10 years, May 2015, when I did DMT, I saw that we are the temple, and that temple is yours to manage. And once you know that they've been, I think you'll see someone drinking Red Bull in a little while. It is, once you know, then the opportunity is for you, the invitation is for you to heal yourself as much as you can. Let's go back to the video. It won't be much longer. I do appreciate you coming, and I do hope that you are enjoying it. I do appreciate your comment there, Hippie Shake, Kathy.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
That was nice.
Putting some more chalk down after the last lot got washed away. More conspiracy music guru here. The Solfeggio album is very, very listenable. Here we go. There we go.
Hi. Earth is flat, not a spinning ball in space.
Okay.
Oh no, the water's level. In your bath, in the swimming pool,
At the bottom of the sea.
stones. We can't get down. You know the deepest we've been into the Earth is 8 miles? And that's only with a single borehole drill. We haven't actually excavated below 3 miles.
I think the aliens are down there, not up there.
There could be beings below, and if it's flat, they could be outside of the ice rink. Can you imagine like a table that has a surround? That's the Earth that we know, but apparently there could be other lands beyond that we've never been allowed to get. There's a thing called the Antarctic Treaty that's been in place for more than 50 years, and all the big countries that have been at war with each other, they never break it. And they never allow us to travel below 60 parallel unless we're guided, and we can go to the Antarctica, but only like to a little island, visit somewhere, go maybe a mile or two, and then come back.
So much Earth that's not allowed to be
explored. Yeah, there's so much we don't know. The truth is, I think that we are, whatever God is, it's us.
Yeah.
We are the center of creation, and they don't want us to know that. That's why they gave us the globe, evolution, rather than we were created on purpose, probably by our higher self, to come and have an experience of our ourself.
And you just
Take my flyer on.
this all the time.
Yeah, well, good luck. And don't drink Red Bull, it's bad for you.
I tell all the time.
Water. Distilled water, if you can get distilled water. Go for distilled.
Cheers,
All the
mate.
best. Cheers.
I unfortunately didn't catch all of the day's activities for various reasons. You hear the laugh?
It's funny actually, in other truth communities, they don't want to talk about certain things. And I've had the experience of truthers saying, no, we don't want to touch this. We don't want to touch it. The earth is flat. We don't want to touch it. I might change that to climate change.
By the way, I never normally watch my own videos. That's why I'm happy to push the camera, go live, and switch it off and walk away. So this has been unusual.
Kind of use the same language we do. Some information, sir? Only a certain amount of memory and battery on this thing. Some information. Can I give you some info?
I will get better. I will get better at all the tech stuff, and because I do like the longer session. But I did feel a little bit on my own on this day and yesterday, and it's like, oh, I can't do.
You got quite a cross there. They don't call you Jesus by any chance, eh? Some information for you. Some information for you, sir.
One guy gets very upset because I offered a flyer to a child, like a 12-year-old or 10-year-old.
Hello. How are you doing?
Caught my eye, climate change hoax.
You know that we've been tricked into giving away our sovereignty, our freedom by the climate change agenda?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the latest one, BBC News coverage about how the markets are because of this trade war thing, tariffs. Right? That's all deliberate. It's all engineered.
Yes.
They want to cross the borders because it's the start of the takeover, the Great Reset, WF.
Yeah.
Vile, disgusting, evil psychopaths.
Yes. Good. Well, we're on the same page.
Sure thing.
Shake my hand. I mean, for me, I came across 9/11 so only in 2014. I believed all the mainstream narratives. I believed in the moon landings and so on. And then something clicked.
Question everything.
Yeah.
Everything we're told.
Yeah.
9/11 was a false flag attack on those towers, and it involved CIA, Mossad, you name it. It was
all the eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
7/7.
yeah, same thing. And coincidentally, supposedly, there was a military exercise on.
That's right.
Same with the Twin Towers, and the same in London.
That's right.
So there was confusion.
Yeah.
Is it real? Or
And
is
they
it...
had assets in place to ensure that they controlled the scene very quickly.
Yeah.
Because once you pull the trigger, you need to immediately be able to shut everything down and be the first people on site.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, like with Sandy Hook, you hear people say, the firemen say, we weren't allowed near the school. But why?
The firemen in New York on the Twin Towers. There was a report saying it was like a foundry down there that was molten now.
Yes, for weeks.
Because they used thermite.
Yeah, for weeks.
Thermite cutting charges. And then, how about the Manchester bombing?
Very dodgy.
There was a private investigative journalist by the name of Richard D. Hall investigated the whole thing, and his evidence he brought forward was not accepted, ignored, and it's clear now because of the stills photography, although that was redacted and kept buried, but there was no shrapnel damage. No shrapnel damage.
Wow.
And they use they call them? Crisis actors, do they call them? They use them to make it look like injuries, and they so that was another fault.
Boston. They're all, so many of them are being designed to engineer, just like you said about the financial difficult challenge, is to engineer particular states of mind in the populace, such that
constant fear. Fear is the thing that controls people, that makes people compliant.
Yes.
The gullible will be compliant. The same with COVID.
Yes.
I don't know about you, but I declined every single
From the first day I was out in the street saying to people, I think there's something wrong here.
Yeah. It's just obvious. You know, one neuron that is critical thinking would tell you that there's something wrong here. A brand new vaccine for a novel virus. What? And not just a brand new, different type of vaccine, an mRNA, genetic gene therapy.
And I think the chickens are still coming home to roost on the harms that have been wrought upon the billions of people.
No doubt about it. I've got friends with a guy. He had a stroke following the AstraZeneca.
My sister-in-law's just had one. 53.
And I've got friends down in Surrey. And Tim never smoked in his life. Fit. After the last jab he had, days after, he started developing. I'm not laughing because it's just the narrative we're fed. Safe and effective. It's not neither. But he developed cardiac symptoms. So his wife, Julie, was a trained nurse, and she made him go to the doctor. The doctor did a quick examination and referred him on to a cardiologist. And cut long story, the cardiologist diagnosed myocarditis.
What a surprise! What a surprise!
And it'll affect his life for the rest
of his life, And he becomes a customer for Big Pharma, of course, for the rest of his life, even if he wasn't. But the funny thing is, the crazy thing is, the propaganda and the brainwashing is so powerful that even when people are dropping around, suddenly they're, dying and things, or getting very seriously, because we understand at 50, 60, 70, we have a certain trajectory for our well-being. We understand that, and if all of a sudden everything falls apart, and you can't make the link back to something that you did 2 months ago or a few weeks ago, or 6 months ago. It's because there is a cognitive dissonance being kind of that brainwashing of safe and effective, and there's no problem, and all of these things.
What we're bombarded with is misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and it's confusion, and that's what they want. Create confusion, but fear first, and then confusion.
And stoke that, and that's the best way, as they did in communism in Russia, is to take control of the people.
Even,
what the information.
Who was Hitler's propaganda minister?
Goebbels?
He said, "Give me control of the media, and I will turn the country into a nation of pigs." Pigs. That's what they think of people. And it's the same. There's no different. It's always been the same methodology. Create a problem, wait for the reaction, and then offer a solution. People were flying for that vaccine.
Yes, they were paying. Some people were paying to get ahead of the queue. Like they were so frightened.
I mean, it was like it shocked me to my core. So don't people think before they?
Well, it makes
react, yes, but think about it first.
But because I'd sort of discovered that I'd been deceived back in 2014, as I said, and then I started getting deeper and deeper over the next couple of years. And I thought initially, like, wow, most of my friends are going to see this information and go, okay, we can see it. It's no problem. And then 2020 showed us that 90% of people, if not more, are completely sold in this reality.
Just brainwashed. And I've talked to people, and it's almost like you're attacking their very identity, and they get aggressive. They don't like being told you're a conspiracy theorist. And my reply to that is, no, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy realist. Look, check it out.
Well, the thing is that conspiracies are occurring all the time, and many of them are discovered and go to court and a conspiracy. But they won't call it a conspiracy. They'll call it some kind of the media will call it something, but they won't stop and go, wow. So WMD, that was a conspiracy. The 45-minute claim that Tony Blair made, WMD claim, that was a conspiracy. Let's look at, Gulf of Tonkin. Let's look at where Americans have admitted that.
All those things were false
flags.
Even intelligence was ignored. Pearl Harbor, they knew that was going to happen because they wanted America to enter the second.
Correct. It was the sting. Well, no.
Anyway,
correct. That they wanted that, and I believe that we're being the pieces are being set on the chessboard for just the same thing. Yeah. Oh well, I think I'm going to end it here, guys. All right. Well, that was. I could take these off. It's weird. I can't really hear myself with the headphones on. That was unfortunately the end of a conversation that went on for another 20 minutes, and it was really, really enjoyable. I had some interactions with some other people. And all the time I thought I was still recording, by the way. I didn't realize that I wasn't. 2 young girls approached me, and they were all angry and cussing, not about anything that I had done. They'd gotten into a scrap with an older woman up the road, and so in just like a minute or two, I gave them just a little bit about who they are and what they are, and they went away much happier. I'm sorry that interaction wasn't caught on recorded. I'm hoping to go to Oxford, like in a month's time. Like a month's time. And I will obviously try and do some other activism when the opportunity arises in the weeks ahead. I have enjoyed sharing with you in this context. As I said, I haven't done it before, and thanks, Sven. I need a small backup battery pack. Well, you know what, Hippie? So the camera comes with, or Andrea got the handle that has a battery in it, and for some really weird, unknown reason, the battery pack was only half charged. There's just. It was apparently like a Mars retrograde or something was happening in the luminaries, which always means you're gonna, not always, but it like presages tech difficulties, and I had that with this. But yeah, I do get to have some really good conversations, and when you meet people that are willing to hear, then the conversation can really flow and go into some bit more detail rather than just the water's level and blah blah blah. Because it is preschool, and I say that with love and respect. But it is preschool being in the street, and remember, for me, I said at the age of 47 or whatever, 10 years ago. When I did the ayahuasca, I said, I knew nothing. I know nothing. I have to go back and learn. I was 47. I know nothing. I have to start again and learn everything from scratch. And I was as well read as any average guy and person in that town before that time. And so here we are now, 10 years later, and do I want to be preaching to the junior school? Do I want to do that? Not as much as I want to work with my own highest kind of trajectory and help others to work with towards their highest trajectory. And this is why I offer coaching and mentoring and support to people who are in need of that. So Andrea does too. And she can add in the kind of
a really detailed luminary thing, which I know she offered to do for you, Hippie. So thanks for putting all those links in there. There's a link tree, and so another great live and a great conversation. Thank you, Tapper. Oh, Tony Dixon. Wow, that's been a little while. Eh? Yeah, thanks, Peter W. Yeah, it's same page. It's really good. And you know what's really nice? I mean, with the first guy, he seemed quite sincere about wanting to maybe meet up with other people, and funny story actually. So I handed a guy a flyer, and he said, "Oh no, it's all right. I'm already going to the pub." And I'm like, "What do you mean you're going to the pub?" "I'm handing out flat Earth flyers." He said, "Yeah, there's a flat Earth pub around the corner." Like, really? So I went and popped my head in there afterwards and left a few flyers for them. And they are a conspiracy theory pub in Chester, tucked away a little bit, but you can find it if you want to. And it's called the Flat Earth. They do have what seems to be like a globe. I showed it in that short clip. There seems to be like a globe in the logo, but I thought maybe it's a piss take. But I walked in and there was the moon landing as a hoax kind of stuff and all sorts of things that I thought people would find fascinating. So that was nice. But yeah, it's really good to have those conversations and to have community. And when you have been, when you're unable to have these deeper conversations, either with your partner or with your friends, as you might have done before, then the relationships with people tend to be more surface relationships. It's just, for me, this is the transition for me. I don't know whether that's right or wrong, but for me it feels like it's harder to embrace people emotionally when they are where they are. So hi Ryan, nice to see you, bro, and thanks for all your support. Gaz the Wildman just formed outside of that pub. Do you mean the same pub I was talking about, Kathy? I can show you. Thanks for that, Hippie Shake. Yeah, Andrew and I offer mentoring and coaching. There's a Flowdesk link there. Yeah, you've looked into that pub, but sadly nowhere close for parking. It's in the middle of town, Tapper. Well, actually, it's not that far from. The parking lot that I used yesterday cost £6 for the whole day, and it's down just behind behind the university, and it can't be more than 10-minute walk, really, and probably half of that if you were brisk. I'll show you the video, Kathy. So all I need to do is change this to webcam and browser. Go over to my browser, quickly go and get this. Go and find my video. Look at me nipping around here. Okay, I suppose I can just, in my history. Did you like by the way, I noticed just noticed my thumbnail for this video. I do hope you enjoyed it. Not this one, I came in peace. The one with Sophia Robot, newer subscribers won't have seen me deep dive into Sophia Robot and my claim that Sophia Robot is the wife of the inventor of Sophia Robot. It's been a few years now, but he was a Disney employee who invented a very lifelike face skin called flubber or frubber. And I believe he then acts the part of the first robot automaton with a mask on. And then they have to put him to sleep after a year or two. And then Sophia robot comes out of the woodwork, and coincidentally there's never a picture of his wife, Sophia, and him together. So I believe that's you know, so I'm very suspicious of now of these new, you know, Tesla robots that are coming out and so on. I think that's. I think, you know, I'd like to see it myself, but I think that Boston Dynamics is about as good as it gets when it comes to robots. And they're, you know, even there, I don't think, you know, they're. So this is that pub, that open pub. And then there was this picture inside. The picture inside is here. Fake moon landings and the lives of NASA, a book by someone whose name I can't read. That's on the door as you walk in. So initially I thought it was going to be a piss take, and then when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, that seems legit. So I go up to the bar and I say to the guy, well, what's this flat earth thing? He said, oh, well, we're a conspiracy pub. Yeah, man. So yeah, this is the Sophia robot. Alright, so we just need to push 0, and I'm back in the room. So yeah, guys, I think that's it's 9 o'clock, and in England anyway. I hope everybody's had a good weekend, or the weekend is going to end well for you all. And Andrew and I will be back on Friday. Yeah, I've got this one. I've been like umming and ahhing about playing this one video. I haven't prepared it, so I'm not going to bother with it now. I had a nice conversation with a lady the other day, and I gave her my channel information, so I'm not sure. Yeah, there's quite a bit of video we missed from yesterday, actually, now that I think about it. But anyway, there was this other conversation I had with this lady in Chester at the cathedral the other day, and it was really quite nice. But I didn't ask her, and I know I might be talking to her again, so I don't really want to upset that apple cart. Unfortunately, she lost her husband recently, and you know, she's not that old. He wasn't that old. Maybe a few years older than me, but really, you know what I'm thinking. Anyway, so yeah, guys, I just want to thank you for coming, and I appreciate it.